Every 2 seconds, someone on Earth has a stroke. That's 15 million people a year. Yet only 5% of our planet's population has timely access to mechanical thrombectomy. So a few weeks ago at the UN General Assembly in New York, Philips and Medtronic came together to host a high-level side event so we could emphasize the urgent need for governments to prioritize stroke care. Joining us was Professor Sheila Martins, the president of the World Stroke Organization, along with Ministry of Health leaders from across 8 nations. Also attending were representatives from the United Nations, the G20 and G7 Health Development Partnership, and leading neurointerventional physicians. Something I really wanted to drive home: there's been 2 revolutions in image-guided therapy in our lifetimes. In 1977, the first percutaneous coronary intervention was performed, and now most of the world has timely access to PCI for acute coronary ischemia. And if you live in the EU or North America, 75% of us have access. But stroke, that's another story. Despite the revolution of mechanical thrombectomy that started 10 years ago with Mr. Clean, despite multiple trials showing strong evidence thrombectomy increases survival, decreases disability, despite these facts, still only 5% of our planet has timely access to thrombectomy. That's 5%, exponentially less than PCI. And remember, stroke is the number 2 cause of death. So stroke care and stroke funding, they're in their infancy compared to acute coronary care. There's not just a clinical benefit for governments to prioritize stroke care, there is a financial benefit. It's estimated that in the next 25 years, the cost of stroke will cost governments a staggering $1.6 trillion a year. Think of the costs associated with rehabilitation, nursing home care, not to mention loss of wages. Those are precious funds that could be used to help with other diseases, but only if governments invest today in stroke. Well, in past years, participating nations committed to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal 3.4. What is that? Goal 3.4 says that participating nations commit to reduce mortality from non-communicable diseases by 1/3, and to do it by 2030. Now, to hit that goal, that's going to be impossible without substantial investments in stroke care. I think the attendees were shocked to hear today's reality, that this woeful shortage of stroke networks, shortage of thrombectomy centers, it's not just a phenomenon in low-income countries. We also have a staggering gap in stroke care, even in high-income nations. By the way, that's a fact finally being reported by the lay press as well. So I think the attendees agreed, this gap, it's preventable. It's unacceptable. And so for me, that's what this event was about. It was a starting point, raising awareness, a call to action, bringing together governments, industry leaders, physicians, societies, and policymakers so that we prioritize funding for the leading cause of disability and the number 2 cause of death in the world.